Pretty girl. Sorry that we took forever to get on. We had some technical difficulties, but welcome back to Pretty Girl Be Healed Season 2. Woo! We have taken a long break, right? But we are back and we are better than ever. And we are not alone for this episode. Here we have
Khalif Celestine.
and
I'm here, the networking guy.
And they are here to help us tackle the much needed conversation for where we are, which is singleships. So today we're going to be just talking about all things singlehood. So you're probably asking like, well, what does she know about singlehood? I'm out of this conversation. This ain't my alley.
No, she in this conversation.
But I'll be moderating, but I think it's important that given all the stuff that we see on social media, all the things that are going on in the world concerning dating, that we need to have the real and authentic conversations about the ghettos, the successes, and the highs and lows of dating. So we're going to jump right into it. We won't keep you waiting much longer. I think it's safe to start out with all of the social media trending things that have been going on about, relationships, singleships, situationships, and all the ships, $100 restaurants. We're gonna talk about it.
Restaurant conversation.
Yes, the sassy list, the $30 lunch. I think while we're laughing because these are the things that are being talked about. It's for real. Like this is the world of dating. So I want to start out before we get into all the ships, but we're just talking about what's your type. Like what does that look like in today's world? What's your type?
Okay.
I'll let you take the
Okay.
You
All
gonna
right.
put him in the hot seat first?
I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. I mean, I think I like that question actually a lot because should I give any background or should I just start talking?
Just go. Yeah. Just go.
I was new to dating probably 2-3 years ago. So people would always ask me what my type was. I feel like my type is personality. Like it's really based on there has to be a genuine connection, right? Mm-hmm. Everything else will come after that, And so it's like without that, it's not like, we can be associates, we can be friends, but I think my type is personality. Like we have to like vibe. I have to be able to, I call it take the mask off. If I can't take the mask off around you, then it's just not it.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. I think like typical women, I had a list. And I had a long list of what I wanted in a man. And I love how pretty much that list got torn up because I think my dating path has been God taking me through every man that I thought I wanted on that list and then showing me that really it was superficial. And that's not the man that was for me. What is my type? I think I'm inclined to say, I don't want to say personality for sure, but I think I would say connection in the same vein as personality. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
I think that's a fair statement to make. I agree. Connection, personality, but for me, I would have to say that it's understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like
That's
I've
good.
experienced
That's
too
good.
many people who I had a connection with in one way, but I didn't have that understanding in a way.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say for me, my type would be not anybody, but someone who I can connect with, laugh with, but I have that understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I don't have to necessarily explain myself too much, but you kind of just,
Yeah. You speak the same language.
Yeah.
right, like we are familiar to each other. So I would say that's my type.
Yeah, I think that's so good because I think one of the things that I've found difficult in dating is that like when you date somebody and they're completely clueless to like your life. Like I'm a business owner. I have 2 children. I've been divorced. Like I'm not new to the dating game. And I think that is really just being matched with people who don't waste your time. Like I have all these things, other things that are going on, and I want to be like when we're in a space that we are together. Like, don't waste my time. Be intentional. So I think it really is even matching up with somebody who understands divorce, who understands kids, because like that just brings a whole nother set of complexity to life. So definitely, someone you can resonate with.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's so funny that you guys walked right into the very point we were trying to make and asking what the type is, because we in my dating years, I had a list. Tall, light skin, curly hair, At one point in my life, chocolate brown. You know, you had all these like superficial things on your list, all the things that you had to have in a mate. But you know, and even I seen on the social medias when I was thinking about our topic, some people still have that. If you don't have these set of things, you know, you're not even a contender in the dating world because you don't look the way I think or the way, you know, the women in this generation who are dating think that you should look. But do we consider credit score? Do we consider divorce? Do we consider education?
Yeah.
Do
That's
we
funny.
consider $100 steak 48 dates? It's funny, y'all. We had a conversation before
$300.
signing on.
$300
Right.
steak
We had a
48.
conversation.
$100 is the minimum.
Listen,
Right.
fair. So we had a conversation before coming on while we were dealing with the technical difficulties about, you know, the superficials of the list.
Yeah.
And we don't always consider the longevity in the dating
Yeah.
world. So, you know, we're going for the $100 per person steak 48 dinners. We're going for cash at me $30, which ain't enough for lunch and all of these things. But have you considered that everybody is sitting at this table is either an entrepreneur or a blooming one? You know, so, you know, on this list, are you factoring in like, hey, in the beginning, we may not go out for these $100 dates, these $200, $400, $500 dinners because we're building. Like,
Yeah.
do you find that on your list? Because the reality is, you know, you're not just dating to date like this one and that one. Like there is an end goal to obviously dating. And like you said, understanding, walking with you in a way that y'all are building together. So it's more than just the, you know, oh, this person has to be tall. This person has to be slender. This person, you know, what about education? Because here's the reality. And ladies, I don't mean no harm, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say. You know, it's not enough to ask for a millionaire when you don't have a millionaire mindset. Men, it's not enough for the woman to be successful and you're laying on the couch. So when you're making your list, you know, how important are these to where we are now? Not where we were, because maybe at teenagers when we didn't know no better, that superficial list would have sufficed. But I'm talking about the now, what we know now based on our experiences. How does that now shape your list?
Okay, wow, that's a good question.
Yeah, so
Good clarification.
I think like my list was kind of dismantled, and I think that like this generation in general just doesn't have a concept of partnership or long suffering or a whole bunch of things. Like there's this delusion of what a relationship should look like. There's this delusion of what marriage should look like, and it's really not what it's about at all. Like I've been married, y'all. Is work, okay? and not that is a bad thing, but it is work. And if you don't have certain foundational things, then it's not going to work. So for me, one of those things is building. Like right off the bat, if you don't know how to build, then you're not going to be successful in a relationship because when you think about building, even if you think about a customer relationship, you have to get to know your customer in order to sell them the product. So if you can't build even in the budding parts of your relationship, you're probably not going to do well in your marriage or anything that happens after that. I think our generation is really predicated on what can you give me? And you talked about social media. I think it's just the facade of what I look like I have.
That's good.
And the facade of what you look like you have is going to get you having nothing. And I think that truly is the problem with our generation. Is it's very much a popcorn society. I want to date very quickly. I want to be seen doing all these things as I'm dating. I want to get married very quickly just to say that I got married. But like, what's next? And if you have that mindset, then you will quickly not be fulfilled in your life because you're doing all these things, but literally they're built on this crumbly foundation, and then it just all falls apart.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to chime in on that. And I have a simple question, and I asked this question earlier. A simple question to figure out what it is that you want from dating is to know what you require for yourself.
Yeah.
What do you require as a man, and then what do you require as a woman? Right? And I feel like when you figure out what your requirements are, that should be the bare minimum of what you require from the next person. Right? And you know, to your point, it is a popcorn society that we live in. I don't think that anyone have any type of realistic view on where they want to even end things. Right? We have an idea of where we want to go, but where's this ending?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know what's next, but also what is last. Right? And I don't think that we put enough thought into like, okay, are we dating intentionally to spend the rest of our lives together, or are we dating intentionally to accomplish, this one goal and then move on to the next person?
That's
And
good.
you know what? I love that you say that, but I have a different take on that, because I do think at some point you need to make a decision about like what's next. But I do think that you should not date everyone as if they are your husband or your wife. I
Yeah,
think
I
that
agree with
it
that.
is an exploration process, and obviously you have to get to an impasse where you say, is this my person or just not my person? But you can't know if that's your person until you get to know them. I
I agree
do
with that.
definitely believe in like intentional dating, but I was watching something on Instagram, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to get married." And then the person's like, "Whoa, like that's very direct." It's like, "Whoa, like that don't mean I want to marry you,
Right.
Like because
Yeah, well said.
my goal is to get married, but it doesn't mean that the next person I date is my husband. Like that is to go through that process to see, and you can't know until you go through the process to see. I think you should date intentionally, but also know that when somebody is presented in front of you, they may or may not be the end goal, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But I think to his point, I think it is it is important and it is beneficial to know that there is an end goal.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it may not be
Yeah, yeah.
the end goal with that person,
Right.
but to consider that, hey, we're not just dating for fun. Like we're not just dating for the purposes of spending time in this moment. Like we want you. The point is to build several moments, and those several moments become several months, and those several months become 7 years, and then those years become a lifetime. So I think one word that we talked about before we went live was like the partnership. So just understanding that you're not dating just to have somebody on your hip and y'all look cute together.
Yeah.
Like, as we talked about a few minutes ago, the idea is to build together. So, the end goal being like, hey, this is where I see life going. Does it line up with where you see life going? And can we essentially do this together? And if not, let's not get too deep because we're not going to waste time
Yeah.
if you know what the end goal is.
Yeah.
You're not trying to get to that end goal with every partner, but you are trying to get to the end goal with someone who is made for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that during that process of exploration, you're talking about values. You're talking about what your concept of marriage is, what your concept of partnership is, like all the things, how you want to raise your children. And I think the reason why people don't survive in their marriages is because all those conversations don't take place.
Yeah.
And
100%.
and in our society, and we talked about this before we came on, intimacy is completely lacking. So because you want to go on your $300 steak 48 date,
Yeah, with your Fashion Nova
get,
clothes.
just so
I
you
said
can get
it.
your steak, you're not having a more intimate conversation so that you can really understand the person. And a lot of people, married people, they don't even know. I can tell you. Ask me how I know. I married somebody who, once we got married, was a complete stranger to me.
I think for what it's worth, people change over time. Not to give too much credit. But
I hope I don't feel guilty.
No, not at all. Not at all. Speak your truth.
But kind of, Samir, to kind of tag on what you were saying, I think relationships are based on understanding kind of first, and it's like we either have, an understanding of where we're going or we have an understanding of where we're not going. And maybe we are just kind of enjoying whatever it is right now. And if that's what it is, then, basically like you have to have an understanding of values, you have to have a common understanding of values or, something. But I guess understanding is just the best way I can put it. Cause like
Yeah.
without that, it is just going to kind of fall apart. But I think once you have that understanding, it can look a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and let's be very clear. Let's clear the air. Dating is fun. There is an end goal.
It can be.
Now it might be ghetto. I can't speak to that, but even in this, like I think where we are talking about a lot of the seriousness behind dating, and rightfully so, because we need to have those conversations.
Yeah.
But it is fun, which
Yeah.
leads me to the conversation where I think we about to ruffle some feathers, and that's the point, to create controversy. I want to talk about some of the trending things in what you see in the social media world that has influenced the world around us to think the way that they think. And I think I want to start with the restaurant list. So if you guys remember, I don't know how long ago, maybe a couple of weeks, couple of months ago, there was this list. And it stemmed from the woman not wanting to go to Cheesecake Factory. And then from that, there was some women that kind of all chimed in and developed this list of no-goes when it comes to dating and restaurants. And I want to explore that because I have an opinion on it, but I want to hear from you guys who are in the active dating scenes on how you feel about this list that is going around of where they don't want to eat, where they do want to eat.
Delusional.
Yeah.
Delusional.
I was gonna say, sorry, go ahead.
No, you good.
I was gonna say, I love it. I love the list because it's like quickly eliminate yourself. You know what I mean?
It's true.
100%. It's just like, okay, like I would love to go to Steak 48. One of my vices are like nice restaurants. Like I like, if I have some money, if I'm doing all right, that's where I'm gonna be. Not the club. I'm gonna be in a nice restaurant. I like that, but it's like if we can't bust a dollar menu at the same time, it's like you're just not the girl for me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to be able to do both, and yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to for me. So yeah, tell me so I can just cross you off the
I
list.
agree with what you're saying, right? The reason why I say it's delusional is because, and we spoke about it earlier to bring it back up, it's like you're not taking yourself to Steak 48. You're not taking yourself to Fogo. You're not taking yourself to
Chima's, Eddie.
Chima's, anywhere. You're not taking
Yeah.
yourself to none of these places. So to think that you're going to create or you're going to build your restaurant portfolio on me and my dime is delusional.
Yeah.
It's absolutely delusional.
Yeah, I think it's unrealistic. Like we talked about earlier, Kawana and I often go on like our girl dates. And even like I said, it's been a long time since I've dated, but even with my husband, we didn't start doing the fancies till much later. Like, and I was accustomed to that because that is something that we do for ourselves, as friends and even individually. And that's what I've done, in my dating years before I ever would ask anybody else. It was something that I would do because that's what I enjoy. I'm all about fine dining. I enjoy it. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the Cheesecake Factory. And I shared this story with you guys before the camera went live. One of our first dates was bowling, and I think we went to Fridays after or something like that. And we had the time of our lives. So I want us to speak to this restaurant list and kind of explain why those sort of dates, the ice cream, the coffee shop, the Applebee's, why it's still necessary.
The reason why it's necessary is because I have more time to understand you as a person rather than to worry about what I'm about to spend on this date.
Right.
You see what I'm
That's
saying?
so good,
It's
yeah.
like I'm not going to think about the $20 the way that I'm going to think about the $600 for this piece of steak that I just paid for that I really did not even like. You see what I'm saying? But I only paid for it because I wanted to understand
Impress
who you
you.
was as a person. Not even impress you, but understand who you were as a person, right? So it's like when I've had those skating dates, those bowling dates, I know that person. We became friends, whether we continue
Yeah.
to date or not. We became friends. We still have that connection.
Yeah.
But those people that I went to Steak 48 with, or those people where we had rooftop dinners, I don't even know those people no more.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like
I think it's an investment. And that's how I look at things. And not that I'm not worth the investment, but I look at it this way. I think that somebody taking me to Steak 48 on a first date is easy. Is thoughtless.
Yeah.
But somebody, like really taking the time to curate a date, whether it's like in order for you to curate a date for me, you have to understand who I am as a person.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about like I love. Like when I can't be outside, because I'm a single mom, businesswoman, I would love like just being outside, going to festivals, going to the park, things like that. Like that is stuff that I enjoy doing. I do like nice restaurants too. Not gonna hold you, but it's not something like just making a reservation at a restaurant. Is that really
It's basic.
saying something?
It's
Like
basic.
for real, to me that's just basic.
Yeah.
Because it really says one. Like you said, it's important to me that you show that you're trying to
It's a
get to know
formality.
me. Yeah, because everybody does it.
through the
Like
motions.
even the whole Steak 48 thing. Everybody knows about Steak 48, or in this area, wherever area you are, it really is really just simple. And I'm not saying that Steak 48 is not nice. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they don't have good food, but like really is that really saying something? Is that really saying that you put any thought or effort into our date?
That you even care about the person.
Yeah.
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 'Cause you know what? I'm a keep it PG, but I'm a say it anyway. You know what? $100 dates with, if I was in this dating world right now, you know what $100 dates would consider to me if if it was you saying it or if it was the male that I'm interested in saying it, you know what that tells me? It tells me that you have an agenda behind this $100 per person date. It tells me that we're going to mingle, we're going to enjoy this $600 meal, but there's an expectation after you slid that card for $600. And it tells me that, is this a dating situation in the long run when there's a good chance that you're putting out so I can put out. Like, that's what that tells me. If they, and then I'm not saying this to everybody. I'm just painting an image of what this can look like where, from the gentleman perspective, if you're offering to spend this and you don't even know if I like steak. For me, who's pescatarian, I don't even eat meat. But because because this was your first choice, my first thought as a woman is like, what are you trying to get out of this? Because the dating game, it is transactional. You're learning each other. You're trying to even figure out if this is even worth your time. But at a $600 dinner, I would like Kawana says, cultivate the experience, get to know me, go on my socials and see what I'm doing. Put the effort behind it in order for us to curate a date that is memorable. Is a $600 meal memorable?
Can be.
So the question has to be asked: do I want to date you or do I want to experience you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Right.
Yeah, that's so
a good question too.
If it's the $600 date, it's like we talked about before. It's a wow experience, right? We don't plan on this being a long-term thing anyway.
Yeah.
So we're just wowing each other
It's just
right
a
now.
thrill, like
Who's to say that
going to a music park.
I
Yeah.
could be spending the $600 because I had a crazy month in sales. Now my ego is tripped. I want to trip my ego even more. I could be spending that money because it does something for me, not even
For
Yeah.
you, that's
right?
good.
So it's
yeah.
like you got to think about what this person is really getting out of it. All the times, like a lot of guys are not. Well, I don't know about a lot of guys, but all the time spending money is not even like a transactional thing with getting something from the other person. It's like, no, I'm spending this money. I see that you're excited, but I'm even more excited at the fact
Yeah.
that
I could do it. Yeah,
Right?
that's
Yeah.
true.
I think we just have to. I think our generation just has to take a different look at things. So I'm thinking about my coworker, and my coworker, she's actually married right now, and her husband does everything for her, and they're doing the Steak 48 dates right now. But this is someone who doesn't have a wedding ring. They had a what do you call it?
house wedding thing?
They have, just like a quaint wedding. And basically their concept behind it is we want to buy a house, we want to buy investment properties. And I'm all for that. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And really even in the realm of like continuing to go on all these dates and stuff like that. And they do that now, but they're in a place where they have invested enough as a couple that they can do these things and not sweat and still work toward their goals as a couple. And I think that, again, we just put our coins into these things that really are not moving us anywhere with our future. Like, it's just, and not to say that you can't go out to get good food. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying up front, I think the investment should be in getting to know each other and not in what type of restaurant that you're in.
Yeah, I think it's important to consider, are you content with the smaller dinners, working up to the bigger dinners? Because remember, we're working towards the end goal. This ain't for fun. We're not dating lottie-dottie to everybody just to say, this is the next person on your hip, right? So is it enough? Because again, coming from the entrepreneur perspective, and many of those that are watching are taking this journey as well, consider, and we talked about this even before we went live, consider that if you guys are dating and you understand each other in the way that Samir talked about, and you're cultivating this dynamic with each other, can we wait on the $600 dates? Because that $600 can go towards your LLC, all of these things. And if you're going to build together because there is an end goal, then those things are going to come. But are we impatient? Can we wait it out and do the smaller dates and equally enjoy, or even the more enjoy each other's company? And the tab isn't astronomical amounts of money. Is that a thing now?
Yeah. So it makes me think about it might not be in the same vein, but it makes me think about something I saw on Instagram the other day. And basically the girl was just saying that she had been dating this guy for 3 years. He had been footing the bill 100% the entire 3 years. And then he needed help with his mortgage payment. I don't know if he lost a job or what happened, but he needed help with his mortgage payment. And she said no. She said no, and then
I'm triggered.
she
done
said
got me.
no. And then he turned around and he pulled out receipts a spreadsheet of all the things that he had done.
Damn.
And I claim you on my taxes. I need to get this back.
Like, what's your social?
Yes, throughout the relationship. Now, I do think he was petty for pulling out the receipts. Now, he was thinking he was petty
Had a
for
point.
that. However, the question was, should he help? I mean, to me, of course. Like, what do you mean? I would help. Like, it's his mortgage. He's been funding your entire relationship. You can't help the brother out with his mortgage. Like, and my thing is that if you can't do that in a relationship, then you only need to be married. Because what happens if he loses his job while you're married?
A perspective that I think nobody actually seen is, why did he have to come to you and tell you that he need help with his mortgage?
Yeah.
As his woman, why didn't you realize that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you see that?
That too.
Like, so it's like now this becomes a conversation on men are paying a lot of attention to who they are courting or who they're dating, but is men getting the same amount of attention?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we have to be careful in the dating scene, not to date people that don't have the same mindset as you. Because
That's hard.
here's where we get tripped up. We get tripped up in, we have these. I'm trying not to offend anybody, so give me a second to form the words. We have these relationships, right? Where we're building. Like in this case, he had been holding it down for 3 years. But this is a prime example, and I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but this is a prime example where you have this list of what you want in a mate, right? Which is this $1 million mindset, but your philosophy is on the EBT level.
Right.
Because there's no
Not
reason
EBT.
I said what I said.
Somebody triggered.
I said what I said because and never mind the married. Never mind, yeah, they're not married. I get it, but this man has been providing for you for 3 years. I'm sure if you can just paint the picture with me, he's whining, he's dining, he's showing you the world because this is what he does. But were you there for the ride, or you about to ride with him? Like, and that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
And I think that it's an important part of deciding who you date because like I said, we're builders here. So if we're building, we can start out broke, but we can't stay there. Like we can start out like, babe, I got $5 and you got $10. We going to McDonald's, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's not where you stay.
Yeah.
So I think in that situation is such a great example of we are right here, but if we know that we're not staying here, it's an equal partnership.
Right.
It's an equal partnership. So if you're putting your all in it, I'm matching you. I'm right there with you, and we're gonna do it together.
And it literally does not make sense that you're in a partnership with somebody and they're struggling and you don't help them.
So, sorry not to interrupt you. That like really hits close to home for me. And so like my question would be like, what do you do if you are dating to kind of understand if you have the same values? What do you do? How do you? Because like once you get to that point where you realize you don't have the same values, well now you know. But like prior to that, what do you do? Because I was in a very similar situation, but for me it happened more than 3 years and after my first child. You know what I mean? It's like, we have very different
after
values,
marriage.
especially
Yeah.
financially. So, do you just kind of run into it when you run into it, or is it like?
I feel like it's easier in the dating game than it is once you marry.
Yeah.
It's so much easier because Dr. Ross said something so powerful, and I think it adds value to this conversation. And she said, "You hire slow, fire quickly."
Oh yeah.
And I think that that's important. That in the dating game, it is kind of like that. Trying to figure it out, and you're in this journey trying to determine like, are you saying this because you're interested in me, or are these really your core values? And I think that sometimes with time that shows itself.
Yeah.
In a marriage, different podcast, different episode, because it's a little bit different. But before you say I do, and you begin to see these red flags, and you begin to see like, oh snap, you just said this to get my attention, but you're really not about this life. Hire slow, fire quickly. The minute you see those red flags and you see that this person isn't matching the same investment, interests, values, any of those things, they gotta go. Because remember, there's an end goal, and it ain't to be dating you for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and I think it just goes back to those conversations that we talk about that don't happen. Those conversations didn't happen with my first marriage. It didn't happen with like how we're going to raise the kids. I was like, you know how they do those cold plunges. That's how I was once I got presented with certain situations, and clearly I'm not married any longer. So I think it's crucial to have those conversations up front, and then you save yourself from divorce in the end. But you live and you learn. But just going back to that conversation, there was another situation, and it was a couple, and the couple they were about to get married, and the man lost his job 2 weeks before they were about to get married. So the question was posed, should they still go forth with the marriage once because he lost his job? So it was so interesting to see the comments that came with that as well. So I just want to pose that to the group.
I think
I'm gonna go last.
I think
for a reason.
I would say yes, absolutely. With maybe some adjustments to your wedding plan, depending
Yeah.
on like. I think all right, if you guys are gonna get married, you're gonna get married. Him losing his job is like a part of your story. You know what I mean? It's like if him losing your job is the reason you're not getting married, maybe you shouldn't get married.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of it. Maybe you just make some adjustments financially. Maybe we scale back on catering or
Yeah.
whatever. But I feel like it's not that complicated at all. Honestly.
Yeah.
See this. Because boy, do I got a lot to say. But we're going to keep it simple. I personally feel like I agree with you 100%. Like, I think that if we have to pivot. Yeah. But if you don't want to marry, if you no longer want to marry me because I lost my job, then that just lets me know that you were just here because of the type of lifestyle that I could provide.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
Right. Me, if I was in that situation, I'll probably, just based off of how I am, I probably would like, I don't like the downscale. If I plan something and this is what it's supposed to be, this is what it's going to be. I like to stick to my word. So it's like, yeah, let's just give it a little more time. Like I know.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right. I know how to get it back. So it's like if we lost it, give me about a year. We could.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be the wisdom in the room because this was my story. For me and Steph, 2 weeks before we got married, he lost his job, and no fault of his own. It was just a rough time for the company that he worked for, and we did not scale back. By that time, the wedding was paid for. Like by that
was
time,
beautiful, too.
it was what it was. The wedding was paid for, and we were saying I do rather if we had $1 or 1,000 of
Right,
them.
yeah.
Like and I think that's what we're missing. It's like I remember him coming to me like, babe, I gotta tell you something. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what you sorry for? We have planned a wedding. There is a honeymoon. We will deal with this when we come back. But in the meantime, I still say I do. I still love you. It doesn't stop anything. We just gonna tighten the reins, but we're gonna tighten them after we get home because we paid for the trip.
Shout out
Right,
to
right.
Steph and Nakai. You heard me?
Like,
Shout out
we
to them,
paid for
you
this
heard me?
trip. Like we going. Like that's it. Now, mind you, and just to paint the picture full circle, when we got back, we did tighten the reins a little bit.
Yeah.
And here's where we miss it. We miss it because the women of this age, and I'm not coming for you, but there are some that feel like this based on social media. They'd have been like, I'm taking my dress back, girl. We ain't going. But realize that this is where the true test of the relationship shows up.
100%.
It's not in the wedding. It's not in the dress. It's not in the I do. It's what you do thereafter. Because what that meant was that, all right, I got it for a little while. While he's looking for another job, while he's doing what he has to do, he's still the man of my house, which I ain't ready to hear that. He's still the man of my house. But right now, I got us.
Right,
I got us. And I'm still submitting to him. I'm getting into the marriage thing, but I'm still submitting to him. I'm still saying, hey, babe, this is what it is. This is what we got. What we going to do with it? But, what you do in the dating life prepares you for that. Because if all you were doing was dating for the purposes of, what you got or what they can provide, were you really, like you said, were you really in it for the
Yeah.
true meaning of relationship?
Yeah,
Right.
it's funny because the next question I was going to ask was just based about wholeness, and Samir and I were talking about this before we got on the podcast. But I think that in me personally, in my process of healing, I understood better how to submit. Because I will say that prior to that process, I didn't even understand what submission was. And I think so. Samir and I was talking about therapy. And one of the things that I explored through therapy, I grew up with a very, very much hyper independent single mother who taught me to be dependent on myself. You don't need a man. Like that's literally how I was groomed. You don't need a man. Even when I was married, and this is no disrespect against my mother, and we're transparent on here. As I was submitting to my husband, she was like, "Oh, Kwana, this is not the 1950s. Like, we don't do that. Like, you're doing too much." But I think that a lot of the problems that we see in dynamics, and it's not to bash women, but is they don't see men as a potential head. Like women are just downright disrespectful to men. Oh, you a nigga? You this, you that. I can say that on here.
Say what you
Yeah,
said.
yeah. But that's how men are treated. Women, what you looking
Can I
at?
chime in?
Yeah, sure.
I was gonna say a joke I tell everyone. Been dating 2.5, 3 years. Philadelphia women are some of the most aggressive young men I've ever met.
Oh, people are about to be triggered up in here.
It's the truth.
Wait, say it again. You said Philly women are the most aggressive
Philadelphia
little
young
men.
women are the most aggressive young men I've ever met.
No, but but see,
And it's not to bash nobody, but we have a real this is what we
but it's
do.
the
We got real
truth.
conversations.
No.
but I used to be one of those aggressive men. I used to
They're gonna be on Ask Pretty Girl Be Hill like, I know y'all better not. Like,
but I definitely used to be one of those aggressive men, and literally,
Yeah.
and truly, that was how I was groomed. So I think as I started to go through my healing process, it was like, wait, I have to heal this little girl in me, who saw how my mother interacted with men, and that's not necessarily the way that interactions should take place with men, and start there, because I think even as we talk about foundation, it's really that, like, a lot of people just have no foundation that they
Right.
stand on, and I talk about this a lot. My foundation is the word, is what the Bible says that I should be as a woman, and a lot of people are just out here in the wind, like they stand for nothing. They when the wind blows, they're this, and the wind blows, they're that. And a lot of people, their foundation is social media, and that is just the scary part. Like when your foundation of how you should be in a marriage is based on a facade, because a lot of times, what's on Instagram and Facebook or whatever is just a facade. It's truly scary. But I want to start there with the process of wholeness, like, and I'll start with you. I'm pick on you, Samir, with the process of wholeness and what that's been for you.
So understand that there's a difference between being whole and being perfect. I don't strive for perfection in any way, right? And if I have to be very honest with you, and this is an issue in the community, a lot of men don't really have a platform to be honest or transparent. I'm not whole, and I'm the furthest thing from it, right? And, I personally feel like I won't really be whole for a long period of time. The reason being is because there's so much trauma to work through. And you have to recognize what your trauma is and recognize what your triggers are before you even get into the process of dating, too deep into dating. Because sometimes dating will bring up a lot of triggers and show you a lot of things. And you
Yeah.
have to be ready to see it.
Yeah.
That's true.
yeah.
So, I don't want to offer too much of a solid perspective on being whole, because I feel like it would be biased or tainted. But to anybody who feel like they are not whole right now, it is okay to not be whole.
Yeah.
That's my perspective.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's okay
Well
to
stated.
not be whole.
Yeah, but I wanted to kind of draw on what you said about going to therapy, and the only reason why I'm sharing it, guys, is because he told me that it was okay to
It's
share
consented.
that. Because I think it's just really important. And in all of my years, I didn't go into therapy until literally I was forced into a corner. Literally, in order, anyway, doesn't matter. It's there, but we don't utilize it. And I want to kind of talk about that, not like specifically what you talk about in therapy, but just like your process to understanding that you needed to go to therapy.
So a lot of people think that therapy is supposed to fix your problems. Therapy don't fix your problems. Therapy just makes you think about your problems. You fix your problems yourself. The therapist just asks you good questions. You see what I'm saying? And then when you get stuck, they guide you to where I feel like you should be. And my process and what made me realize that I needed therapy was the fact that I thought nothing was wrong with me.
That's good.
Like, I thought I thought I was perfect and everybody else was just delusional. Right? Delusional.
That's all y'all.
Right. But
Your problem.
After a few failed relationships, after stagnant friendships, after a couple of temper tantrums, like I had to see. I'm like, look, listen, I'm 23, 24. I'm at that age where it's like, if the same thing keep happening, it can't be that.
Yeah. Common denominator.
Right. At some point in time, you have to take that accountability. Like I've always been a person that I can read other people, but I realized that I read other people before I even gave them the opportunity to read me. because I
Yeah.
wanted to see.
Yeah.
Right? So me going to therapy was the fact. The cause of me going to therapy was because I wanted to see myself and I couldn't.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's what that was.
Shout
Yeah.
out. Congrats.
Yeah, I think it was the same for me. I think that once you realize you're in a cycle, right? Because you can have things that happen to you, and the things that happen to you are not warranted. But I think for me, it was the thought process that allowed me to actually go through said process. Like, why did I get married to the person that you like? And I don't want to finish that sentence, but but literally, why did I make the decisions that I made? What is there in me that took me down a path that I made these decisions? And I think that was my reasoning to one of my reasons to go to therapy. The other one is because my children. I want to be a whole parent for them. And I think that sometimes we need to take like a relationship off the table, right? Because one of the things that you talked about was what are your expectations? Well, I can't know my expectations if I don't even love myself. I can't know my expectations if I don't even know myself. And we talked about this as well prior to us getting on the podcast, was that some people are in relationships and are so, their identity is so tied to the relationship that they don't even know who they are outside of the relationship. So I think it's just a journey of, just wanting to love yourself, because in order for you to just love on yourself, you have to know what you deal with. And I think it's awesome that you talked about not being perfect, right? Because I think that that's a misnomer or a misconcept, whatever phrase you want to use, is that you have to be perfect before you get in a relationship. That's like ludicrous. And I think also that sometimes you get into the relationships and then there's an aspect of the person, and they don't even have to be your purpose partner, but they could just be something that they show you about you as you journey along with them. And then you go through a healing process through that. Sometimes it is actually crucial for you to be matched up with sometimes your assignments, because we talked about this as well, how sometimes people are just assignments that you need to journey along with them in order to kind of flush out some of those areas where you need to heal. Sorry, I know that was a mouthful.
No, but it was good. I'm interacting with the people in the chat because they are blowing the chat up. So I put it in the comments already, but if you have any questions while we're talking or anything for the men that you just want their insight on, drop it in the chat. Do it while they're here.
Something that I do want to mention, I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off.
you're good.
This
You're
is on
good.
the top of my mind. Listen, for any single mothers that are watching, do not raise your son to be the man that you never had or the man that you lost. And that is very important. Also, don't tell your son that he's acting like a girl. Help him interpret his emotions. A lot of men now, like what I learned for who I am and who I am, as myself, but who I am in relationships, I am a direct reflection of not being able to express my emotions. Right?
That's so
And
good.
you can be abusive in more ways than physical, right? Like absence can be abuse.
Absolutely.
Like being physically present but mentally absent can be abuse. You don't know how triggering that is to a person. Like I can see you, but I can't get through to you the way that I want to get through to you. 3 of my ex-girlfriends said the same thing. They said, I wish you would have let me love you more.
Wow, that's so good.
Listen, I'm not
That's
really,
so
I'm
good.
like so standoffish and I have some thick skin, but it hurt my feelings so bad because I'm like, yo, I had the opportunity to experience love, but I did not give myself that chance because I felt like I didn't deserve it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's so good. That is
It
so
is.
good. And
Oh
I'm
my
gonna
gosh,
tell you
it's
why.
heavy.
Because that is a big prayer for me. It's a big prayer for me to be open to love, to be able to receive love, and to be able to identify it, right? Because even as I journey through past relationship, and I think it's so important for people to understand people's love languages. But I can tell you, in my last relationship, his way of showing me that he loved me was not telling me he loved me. His way of showing me he loved me was cooking dinner for me and doing all these other things for me. But because I complete that. Went right over my head. Like my deficit was that I wasn't told that I was loved as a child. So you're not telling me you love me, you don't love me. Period. That's it.
But what if I tell you and don't mean it?
No, which is good. But I had to heal from the fact that I had a deficit because I wanted to hear words of affirmations because I wasn't told as a child. And then that opened me up to be able to understand that this is there's different ways of people expressing their love, which is important, right? Because I talked about my children. My children like to be loved in different aspects. And in me learning how to love and how to receive love, I also learned how to better love my children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Y'all jump right into the next part. I love it because the next aspect of it, and I think is necessary. From both ends, from the male perspective as well as the female perspective, is to talk about. And Samir brought it up, which is so good, talking about like the traumas behind dating, because it's a trauma to date, especially in today's society, right?
Yeah.
But it's a whole different level of trauma when you're carrying trauma into the dating dynamic. So
Yeah.
I want you guys to speak to the lessons, the experiences
Okay.
of the trauma of dating, as well as carrying your trauma while still dating, and how that has influenced your dating life. I know, heavy. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to respond and navigate in a, productive way and not just start venting. I think something that I experienced was, I think, like, as far as cycles, I definitely saw myself in a cycle for like the first 18 months after my divorce, where I would like get into non-committal situationships and then just like end up being hurt or end up hurting people one way or another. And I think it took me a while to just kind of realize that I was running from, or I was carrying a trauma from my marriage of just like feeling like I don't want to get ahead of myself or kind of just be all over the place. But like in my marriage, it's like when it ended, I kind of for a long time couldn't figure out why it ended, And so I think for a long time, maybe even still, it's like I don't want anyone to get too close because I still am figuring that out. I'm still trying to figure out like what I should have done differently or what could have gone differently or whatever. Like even feeling like I invested so much for it to all just kind of fall apart. We were together for like 9 years. So I think that's something that that took me a while to even identify, was like something that I would walk with and something that I'm still working on. I don't know if I have an answer to it, but I think that's probably something that I had to kind of just come to terms with. And I think what was hard for me, this is like me sharing a story. I think I didn't really realize that until someone said to me a while ago, someone I was dating, she said to me, why wasn't I ever good enough? Which broke my heart, because it's like, whatever I put you through had absolutely nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? And that broke my heart. And that's really when I was like, all right, let me just, like, I don't need to be putting the phrase I use is I don't want to bleed on people who didn't cut me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it is realizing that it's cancerous to all aspects of your life. So interestingly enough, when I thought about this, I didn't think about a relationship, but I thought about a conversation, and I pray it's okay for me to share this with my spiritual mother, my mentor. And we were having a conversation, and my perception is that I was open and I was allowing people in. And really, I realized that I was very much standoffish. Like, I was alive, and probably still working on this. I think I'm much more open now, but I was allowing people in, but to a certain extent. And the danger of that is that you can literally have people that God sent you to your life to do whatever. And you're not allowing them to get in. So you're not getting what you need to get or what you're supposed to get, because you have this wall up. And I love this analogy, and Dr. Ross might have talked about this, but she was talking about a gate versus a wall. And I very much had a wall up. And it's just making sure that you are open to it, because it's people don't realize that it doesn't just stop at the relationship. It affects how you navigate with your customers, if you're whatever you're doing in business. It affects how you parent your children. It affects your friendship. It affects everything in your life, because you're distrusting, you have bitterness, you're unforgiving. So, when people talk about forgiveness and literally going through that healing process, it's important, because it's the whole thing. And I think a lot of time people think it's compartmentalized just to the relationship. So for me, I would say it was heartbreaking for me, because I know that that relationship in my life is an important relationship. And when I realized that I was not letting that person in as I should have been letting that person in, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the problem here. And this is a problem that I had to address.
Yeah.
Can you ask me that question one more time?
Oh man. I think I asked.
God.
So they
I
got
got real deep into it.
they come in with questions. So we're going to get to the questions in a few minutes, as I see the three questions that have been asked for us so far. But I was speaking to the traumas and just touching on the trauma of dating while still, and also bringing your trauma into the dating dynamic.
So I'll speak about my last relationship. That is my number one trigger. Last relationship, number one trigger. What the girl said to you is, I've never said this to her, but this is how I secretly feel. I've shown you in multiple ways, whether I had a job or not, I can create anything out of nothing, multiple ways. And I was creating things that I didn't even really care for myself, but I was just doing it to show you that I could provide, to show you that I am a provider, to show you, just trying to get you to see me. But why wasn't I good enough? And when I think about it, I'm like, for some people, you're never going to be good enough for them if you're not the thing or the person that they want.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal against you. You just have to, how you said, love languages. That's not how she wanted her love.
Yeah.
Right? She didn't care if I had money or not.
Or she did it to heal.
That's right. She did it herself.
That too. I know the reasons why, but I can't disclose it on
Yeah, sure.
top.
Right.
You know, that is one of the traumas that I take with me now, because it's like dating. Like, if I don't have a crazy month in sales, if I feel like I'm not hitting my goals, you won't talk to me. You won't see me, nothing.
I'm the same way.
Right. I dissociate myself a lot.
So-
One of my toxic traits is isolation. Like, I remove myself.
Yeah. So I'm a dig here for a second. And okay. So I'm gonna go there. So I my entire life I have been like really type A. I went away from the microphone. Really type A, really focused on like excelling, promotion, all those things. And my last job, I came in, got promoted multiple times really quickly. And then I got to a space where I just felt really, really unfulfilled. And I remember one day I was talking to my friend at the time, and I said, I got the promotion. I got this. Like, why do I feel this way? Like literally, the only way I can explain it is that it was the emptiness that was like, it was so empty. Like, you know how you get really, really hungry? And it's like, you can't.
Like your stomach talking to you.
Yes. Like you can't, it's like, it feels like you're not going to be able to satisfy that hunger. Like, it just felt like an empty pit, but it's out my soul, if that makes sense.
It does.
So I fast forward to 2022 or 2022. I wind up going out for work for severe anxiety and depression. And the reason why, as I started to explore why I was anxious and depressed, it was because my everything was tied to my idea of success, right? My idea of success really was tied to what my company's idea of success was. And the reason why I talk about this is because it's a trick. And as believers, we know about systems and things like that. Like it really, I was so bound to this company, right? That even though, first of all, it was taking me away from my children because I had to travel so often that I couldn't be with my kids. It had affected my relationship. It was a whole bunch of reasons why me and my ex broke up. But one of the reasons was because I worked so much. And I will tell you, I was very narrow focused on excelling, like to the point where even my focus in the home life was shifting everything over to him. So a lot of things happened to me, but I realized that my idea of success was not the correct idea of success. Because if you think about it, if you're tied to a company, right, and you are doing what you need to be doing for them, you're only as good as how much you produce. So what happens when you can't produce? Now you're anxious. Now you're depressed because that is what your identity is tied to. And I think really what my ideal is, and this is and this is my opinion, because I know this is not going to be the opinion for all. Like, you have to be grounded in God, because my idea of success is not, even though this is changing, because we were talking about this earlier, the bank account.
Yeah.
My idea of success can't be what's in my bank account. It can't be how much I'm producing, because what happens if I get into a period where God is saying you need to rest? Well, now I'm not producing, and now I'm going crazy because I'm not doing something, but God is telling me to rest. So I think I would challenge that thought of success, right? Because if you're in a situation where you are in a partnership and your partner understands that you need to rest, your partner is, because if you really with somebody who can see, who is praying, they gonna know that you need to rest, and you need to not be producing, because you can't produce, because you need to be refreshed, right? Now you can't stop, because your idea is your identity is tied to producing. So now everything just all out of whack. So I would just challenge that. Just that the idea of success, because really is that the idea of success. Because really, even when you look at the relationship with the young lady, you were doing things just to appease, and it was just like pouring into a glass with a hole in it. So what happens when you can't?
Yeah.
And that's my question. What happens when you can't produce?
That's good. That's good. We the comments are blowing up, so we might have to do a part 2, because there's so much we still have yet to explore. But I want to recognize the questions and try to give answers to the questions that are in the chat. So shout out to Taylor, who is our first person to give a question, and I'm going to give it to the men first, because they hear from us all the time. We took a break, but they had 7 seasons of us just talking. So I really want to give it to you guys to answer some of these questions, and we'll chime in as we go. But the first question is, what advice can you give a woman on how to respect her partner, but also challenge him in his thinking or beliefs?
Wow, that's deep. That's like, there's no way to not give a loaded answer to that. It's like a loaded question.
All right, let's go.
I think, can you ask the question again?
The question is, what advice can you give a woman on how to respect her partner, but also challenge him in his thinking or beliefs?
You got to know him. Like, you just have to know him and care about him, honestly. You got to know him and know what respect look like to him, you got to know him to be able to know what his challenges are, to be able to see when he's tired or when his mortgage needs to be paid, or, you know what I mean? You got to know that man and care about him, honestly. I don't know if there's a short answer, or like, you know what I mean? I feel like that's really it. You got to like genuinely be invested in this person.
I agree. I think it's definitely something where you definitely have to know him. But I would advise something that I feel like works. Is tell him what you like about what he does.
Yeah, that's a good one. There you go. That's a good one.
Like, let's say for instance, he's a mechanic, right? And he's very passionate about this project that he's working on, or he wanted to open up his own shop. Like, I really love what you're doing with your project. I would love it even more if this was actually yours, and if this was what you were doing full time for you. Right now, that's making him feel like, oh wow, she's admiring what I'm doing. She's acknowledging what I have going on. Right? I feel like sometimes you just have to speak a little more life into him.
Yes.
Not really.
Yeah.
Encouragement.
Yeah, what I find interesting in both of your responses, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the way to answer this question is to speak to the heart of that man.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a lot of women need lessons in this, and how to pour, because a lot of women nag. And one of my favorite scriptures is a nagging wife is like, you got to do
Girl,
this one.
Google it.
It's
Just playing.
I forget it. I should know this. But basically, don't nag. Like literally just don't nag, because it's not fruitful. And a lot of people don't know how to support. Like, you might see something that's going on in your significant other's life, but just like they said, you have to know them. And you have to know how to communicate to them, because you could have very well intending words, but you don't know them, so now you trigger them, and now they can't hear you, because it's the same thing for women. You could say something to us. You could say, babe, babe, them pants ain't fitting, right? And that's it. Well, maybe that's
It's
a
a
bit.
never-ending
But-
argument.
but-
Now just open up the box.
Where is she going?
That's a bad example, but babe, I don't know. Like say if your girl got high blood pressure and she put too much salt in the food, like just understanding how to communicate. Like, don't say don't say babe, your pants don't fit, but babe,
Let's try
I-
something
I
else.
care about your health. You know, just going down that line type of thing. Like I think you have to.
It's a setup, Corey.
Y'all right. That was a setup.
Because it's gonna be
But-
like, well, what you trying to say?
But I think it's just understanding how to communicate, understanding your partner, understanding how they want to be loved, and not nagging. I think a lot of women are hypercritical. They're nags. Their men can't do nothing without them nagging them about them not doing it right. And I'm not talking about gentle correction, right? But really, it's not for us to correct the man. Like my whole mindset, if there's something that I'm not a man, so you know what I mean. And if I'm supposed to submit to a man, I pray. That's what
And I think there's a duality in this. I think that it's important, to have the male perspective, which is why I love you guys on this podcast right now.
Yeah.
Because, I was able to even articulate based on what your responses and what you want from your answers to this question is thanks babe for putting it in the chat. But speak to the heart of that man. Like, it's not enough to beat him over the head with what they're not doing, but speak to his passions, speak to his heart, speak to the interest and promote it. Be his biggest cheerleader in the background. And I think that, we speak to the women and tell the women what they're not doing, but I think the duality is also speaking to the men and so that they can speak up. Like, we're not always mind readers and we get it wrong because we think we mind readers.
Yeah.
But I think the duality is having that conversation where you say, babe, I hear you, but I would hear you better if you did this. And having that open line of communication so that men, we need your input. Like, yes, we nag. Yes, women, we have a very quirky way of trying to say we want the best for you, but sometimes we don't know how to say it because you haven't shared with us how to get to that point in your heart. And if it is, like you said, being the biggest supporter in whatever it is, then so be it. But sometimes I think that, we try to figure it out based on what's presented to us or what's around or what we think versus having that open and flat out honest conversation like, hey, I can, Cherie said it, we overthink. And even Nashay, affirm him. Like, but sometimes we need to know what to affirm. So, yes, we're giving downloads spiritually, but sometimes I need you or we need you, men, to say like, hey, I just need your support. I don't need the nag, get in here and get the wrench, like get in here and paint the wall. Like, because remember we spoke about in the beginning of this podcast, we're builders, but I don't know how to help you build if you don't tell me. Remember that, we talked about the end goal. And if the end goal is marriage, me as a wife, I am now your help me, but I need to know what direction we going. And you have to be able as the men, we will follow if you lead. So, as the men, it's equally as important for us to be quiet, but just as important for you to speak up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
That's good.
That's good. What's the next question?
The next question is from Nicole, and she asks, is it truly possible to date a healed man, or are there always going to be areas where a man isn't healed? And I'm going to leave this to the men.
I mean, is there a perfectly round ball? And if so, does it stay that way when you play with it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's always work to be done. I think there's layers to everything. There's levels to everything. And I think there's like degrees of acceptability. You know what I mean? It's like I think the person I was December 2021, like 2 days married, you know what I mean? Probably not the smoothest surface to like play marbles with, No, I think it depends. And I think it depends on what you're looking for and where you are as a person, how healed you are and what you can even.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the best way to say it. What you can even
With your capacity.
capacity. That's a good word for it. Like what your capacity for is, because I think we all are gonna have ebbs and flows. We're all gonna like have good seasons and bad seasons and things that we need to work on and times of like strength and triumph and what's your tolerance and yeah, I guess that's kind of what it comes down to. But absolutely, there's like healed people out there.
Yeah.
I think about, and I'm gonna take it over to Samir. I think about this question in a different way. And if I was to give her an answer, is it truly possible to date a healed man, or is there always going to be areas a man isn't healed? I would say yes, it's absolutely possible to date a healed man. I think that where I land the plane in this question and answering this question is that healing is continual.
Correct. Yeah.
So that you don't there is, for me, and it's debatable, there's no point of arrival in there.
Correct.
Yeah.
There will always be levels to the healing. So at my level where I am now, I might be healed, but at the next level I have a little bit more work to do.
Yeah.
So I think that if you are okay with healing being a continual process, then yes, it is possible to date a man, because you're not going to come to this point of arrival where it's almost like what Samir was talking about the point of perfection. That's not attainable. Excellence is, which means that you're constantly striving and you're constantly working toward the healed place, and you'll arrive at monuments of your healing. But healing will always happen, because there's always something we're going to have to heal from.
Yeah.
There's always going to be, and even if we think we've reached the apex of our healing, there's still another level. So I think that, is it possible to date a healed man? No. Is it possible to date a continual healing man?
absolutely.
Yes.
To be honest, I kind of took all my answers. So I had nothing for that one. That was good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Said.
And our last question is from Taylor again. And if you have any other questions, I see a few people hopping on. Hello, thank you so much for watching with us. If you have any questions for the men, please drop them in the chat, and we will get to them. The last question that we have is again from Taylor, and she wants to know, what are the men's thoughts on marriage, and when do you know when you're ready?
That is a really good question. I'm gonna let you go first this time. Never married, right?
never
I'm gonna let
been-
you go first.
He's like, before I tell y'all for real.
I'm gonna just tell y'all now. I've never been married before, so and my views always change. I'm not gonna say I know when I found the one, but something that I feel like would be a requirement for me for marriage is like, just know yourself and know what it is that you want. Right? Please, you asking me to lead you, and you're telling me where you want me to lead you. I understand that, but if I'm leading you somewhere where you are not sure that you want to go, do not blame me when we arrive at that location and then you see that the grass is not green over here, right? I understand that the generation that I'm in has a very tainted perception on what they want from marriage.
Yeah.
Me, I don't want the facade of marriage. I want the reality.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the ups and downs. I agree with that. But let's not try to paint the picture that this is Cinderella in the glass shoe type of thing. That's not me.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But again, I'm not married.
The question is, how do you know you're ready to be married?
Yeah.
I think it's a personal thing, obviously. I think you kind of have to get to a place. I think there's levels to it. I think on a personal level, you have to get to a place of just knowing yourself and just knowing, just knowing who you are. But I think beyond that, you then need to know what you want out of marriage. Why are you getting married? What does that look like for you? What are your pillar stones of marriage, like your values? And then can you communicate those with the person that you want to be married with? And do you have that shared interest? And do you have a plan for your marriage and your life? And like, can you talk about that at length and be excited about it?
Yeah.
I think I would go farther for myself personally today and say, like, I would need a very detailed financial plan. Maybe that's from my own trauma, you know what I mean? But I would definitely throw that out there that because I think you want to talk about
Finances is
money.
important, though.
It's a big
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big part of it. You want to talk about money, you want to talk about kids, family planning, legacy, where you plan to live. I think really, I would say, like, anyone who wants to get married should really have a deep conversation about, like, sister villages. That's what I call it. And, like, combining your sister villages and your resources and what that looks like. But I want to get too off topic. But I think it just depends. I think you just really have to have a plan and like a shared set of values, honestly.
I think I want to add, like, now that we're in that conversation, I don't think that I ever gave marriage too much thought.
And that's
I think
okay.
I thought
Right,
about it
right.
That's okay.
as I feel like I should have.
Well, you're not married yet, so.
Right.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
So the great thing about it, these questions, is that it's thought provoking for those that ask the questions, and very thought provoking, equally as thought provoking for those that are answering, because it gives you a different perspective about we're all in a process, and the process is continual. So, it gives us growth points. It gives us something to consider. We can take home and really meditate on, like, oh wait, for you guys, are you really ready for marriage? Is it something that you're truly, truly ready for? Because the one thing I love about this dynamic at this table is that we're all coming from different perspectives, from married to the divorcees to those that are trying to figure out, what marriage looks like, and then the dating scene for you three continually. I feel that is something. They want you to speak into the mic. They can't hear you. It's something to consider for everybody. So where do we land our plane? What do we want to leave our viewers thinking about when we're talking about the singleship?
The singleship. I think what I would leave our viewers with is, for me, dating was a nightmare at first, and it became fun once I knew what I wanted from it, knew who I was, and knew why I was doing it. Once I kind of knew that I had those three things answered, I was able to kind of date in what I think was like a healthier, more mature, and like more progressive way. I was able to have deeper connections, and I wasn't like dating to fill a void. So I would say, know yourself, know why you're dating, and know what you want out of dating. And that's what I would leave them with.
Yeah, I would say heal. I would say to confront the ugly parts of yourself so that you don't bleed on someone else. And my thing is always going to be heal. Be open to the healing process.
I'm going to agree with both of y'all. I do agree that you have to heal. Something that I tell like a lot of my guy friends when they're going through like their dating situations, I give them the 3 T's. It's truth, it's transparency, and it's trust, right? You have to be very truthful with yourself about the situation that you're in or the situation that you're about to get yourself into. You have to be very transparent in that situation on both behalves. So that way, if things do go wrong, you're not really at fault for anything that was stated, because at least you were very upfront about it, right? And then it's trust. It's trusting yourself to know when you have to leave, right? Everyone is not for you, and I think we all agree for that. Like, sometimes I might not be the companion for you. I may actually be your assignment. So it's recognizing that part. Right? But yeah, that's my take that's my take on the dating.
All right. Well, I feel like a part 2 is brewing. I feel it. So if you see these faces back on Pretty Girl Be Healed, it's because we may be doing another level of the singleship. I think there's so much more to be explored, and I think that we've touched on a whole lot. I do want to shout out everybody that's watching. I'm not gonna call you out by name because they already talking about me. I've called them too many names out. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. While we have them, we do want to take the opportunity to just shout out what they do and who they are, so that you can follow, you can support, you can get involved in the work that they're doing, because they're doing some pretty dope work. So whoever wants to start first to promote their business.
You want to go first?
I was going to let you take the floor, brother. Being kind tonight.
All right. So yeah, again, thank you for having me. My name is Khalif Celestine. You can find me on social media as Khalif Closes. I'm a realtor. Been a real estate agent since 2018. I like to say I'm a first-time home buying expert, so I can tell you the ins and outs of cash to close, down payment assistance, buying down points with sellers. We can get really granular. Also, really like working with investors, home buyers, leasing, really anything with real estate. I'm your one-stop shop.
You know what? I actually love that. Listen, if you guys need a home, talk to this guy right here. My name is Samir, the networking guy. I appreciate you ladies for having us on here.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I do, I am a musical entrepreneur. So anything that is music related, I'm 9 times out of the 10 the guy that you're going to go to forward, or I know the guy that's going to get you to where you need to be.
Cool.
I'm waiting for your. There he is.
Okay,
there he
there
is.
it is.
Your graphic
There we go.
to pop up. So you can follow him at.
I am Samir, IAMSYIMIRA.
Yes.
Great.
And
Awesome.
there's plenty that you don't know about us pretty girls. So we are also going to give the opportunity for us to promote what we're doing outside of Pretty Girl Be Healed, and we're going to start with Kawana.
Yes, absolutely. So my business started out as True Solutions HR consulting, but it quickly evolved to business solutions. So essentially, I do everything that needs to be done to get a business started. So everything from on a granular level of getting your EIN to getting you the credentials that you need to get your business started. So right now, I've been working with home healthcare agencies, home health agencies, ambulance, group homes, anything under that realm in healthcare. But really, if it's a business and it requires some type of licensure, I can do it for you. I'm also a notary. I can do what do you call it? Remote notarizations as well. So anything under the business realm, I'm your girl. So you can follow me at. Oh, I don't know what my handle is. I think it's
True Solutions HR.
Yes, I think it's True Solutions consulting firm on Instagram. But my other handle is Keeping It Real with Kay Monet. And all of my handles are kind of grouped under that.
And Sharice House also mentioned in the chat that you do hair, but
Oh yeah, y'all, I do a lot of stuff. I do
serial
hair.
entrepreneur.
I do hair. All the things under here, and I do have a clothing line as well that is coming soon. I plan to launch around Mother's Day. My clothing line is Momming with Swag. Thank you for mentioning that, cousin. Love you. It's Momming with Swag. So
See, look, they're like, she do hair. What?
I do.
Shout out to Andrea some more.
Yes. Andrea Zamore is the hair business with my cousin, but Mama with Swag is my clothing line, and that is relaunching around Mother's Day. So look out for that.
And last but certainly not least, I am your skincare, self-care girly. All your makeup needs, all your skincare needs are under The Colorful Experience, which is my Instagram handle. And I also have a much anticipated, much waited skincare class coming. So if you are interested, it is called Let's Face It. And it's more than just caring for your skin. We're going to tackle the necessary need for self-care. So if you are interested, it is March 23rd at 1 p.m. It is at a private location, but all information is on the screen. So if you are interested, I will post the Venmo information on Pretty Girl Be Healed so you can purchase your ticket. Last day to purchase tickets is Saturday, March 16th. So get your tickets and let's face it.
Yes.
So we want to thank.
Oh, wait. We got to shout out HOG Studios.
I was getting here.
go ahead.
We want to thank HOG Studios so much for constantly hosting us and having a shout out to our apostles, Apostle Nate and Apostle Maisha. Thank you so much for all of your support. Shout out to everybody that has been watching us for literally over an hour. Y'all are the bomb for that. And last but not least, can we all just real quick say thank you so much and a good shout out to my husband who week after week has held it down, who week after week, does what it does for Pretty Girl Be Healed. Shout out to Stefan. Thank you so much for all that you do for Pretty Girl Be Healed. And I think we're going to end it there, guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to the official premiere of season 2. Stay tuned for next week. We want to give them the title. We're going to keep them hanging.
No, let's give him a title.
All right, let's give them the title. So next week, we'll be right back here at 8 p.m. on time. I'm sorry, y'all. We had technical difficulties. But we'll be right back here at 8 p.m. next Friday on time, where the topic will be the
Consequences of Compromise.
The consequence of the compromise. So we will see you guys right back here. And until then, bye, pretty girl.